Welcome to ICEF Monitor's weekly news roundup, keeping you up to date with all the latest trends and developments in our sector. I'm Lucinda Bowden, and here are this week's top stories. As the pace of vaccinations, border openings and international travel all begin to accelerate this quarter, we're seeing that most Australian states are announcing plans to welcome back international students. Also this week, foreign enrolment trends in the US for fall 2020 and fall 2021, the changing profile of students in international K-12 schools, and new vaccines and rules for under-18s in the UK. Don't forget to subscribe to our website icefmonitor.com for additional market intelligence for international student recruitment. Most Australian states and territories have now announced plans to welcome back international students. All incoming travellers must be fully vaccinated, and this means having 2 full doses of an approved vaccine 14 days apart, with the course completed at least 7 days before arriving in Australia. Quarantine and testing requirements vary from state to state, along with the expected timing and pace of student returns. Here is a brief rundown of the requirements of each state at this time of recording. In the Australian Capital Territory, returning students are welcome from the start of 2022 and will need to follow all Australian government vaccination and testing requirements, but they will not be required to quarantine. In New South Wales, fully vaccinated students are allowed to return to the state without quarantine from the start of December. In Queensland, from January, students will be welcomed back in a phased approach, prioritising those studying medicine and health-related disciplines, and all incoming students will be required to complete a 2-week quarantine at a designated facility. The South Australian Government has announced fully vaccinated students are welcome with no quarantine required. Tasmania has also announced that fully vaccinated international travellers are able to enter without quarantining from the 15th of December, but a negative COVID-19 test is required. In Victoria, fully vaccinated students will be required to complete a 14-day quarantine. In Western Australia, fully vaccinated students are welcome in time for the new academic year start in February. And in the Northern Territory, current plans are to welcome international students from January. Over to the US now, and the number of new international students enrolled in higher education institutions fell by nearly half in 2020 to 2021. That's according to the data just released from the Open Doors report. Overall, there was a decrease of 15% in international enrolments across various higher education sectors. Meanwhile, continuing enrolments were much less affected, declining by a relatively modest 3%. Throughout the 2020 spring and summer semesters, international student applications, selections and visa processes were severely impacted by the pandemic, as well as international travel being heavily restricted. As a result, hybrid courses dominated the fall 2020 semester, with approximately 20% of international students studying online from abroad. Additional survey data for fall 2021 indicates a much better forecast for US educators, with 68% of those surveyed reporting increases in international enrolments. In addition, the outlook is much brighter, with 73% of international students enrolled with US higher education institutions studying via a hybrid model, 27% studying in person, and only 1% studying exclusively online. Nearly 3/4 of institutions surveyed report that international students are attending on-campus classes, and these figures have been aided by easing border restrictions and COVID vaccine rollouts around the world. According to a new report from ISC Research, the profile and needs of the typical international school student and their families have changed substantially over the past 40 years. As a result, internationally oriented schools are growing more quickly than those with an exclusively British or American focus. Asia is the hotspot for the expansion of the market. Just over 6 in 10 of all students enrolled across Asia throughout 2020 are in international schools. The evolution of international schools, designed initially to serve the educational needs of small groups of expatriates, has broadened and is now high on the list of priorities for many families who can afford it. The result of this is that whilst the market still caters for Western expatriate families, demand for places is mostly fueled by local families and expatriate students from a much broader range of originating countries. This has prompted the growth in demand for international schools at a fee point accessible to more families. And as a result, more international schools are being established or are adapting their fees with the purpose of meeting the needs of a mid-market fee sector. Globalisation has also driven up demand, opening up desirable career opportunities in a much wider range of countries, and today's employers are looking for candidates with a global understanding of geopolitics, economies, networking, cultural nuances, and more as they strive to open up more markets around the world. And as a result, demand is growing for internationally minded schools. And important news for agents and students focused on study in the UK, there is new travel and border guidance from the British government. On the 22nd of November 2021, the UK will add WHO EUL vaccines to its list of recognised vaccines, opening the door to many more travellers and students who might have otherwise found it too challenging to get to the UK. All under 18s will also be treated as fully vaccinated, which will make it much easier for them as well to enter the country without onerous challenges. The more extensive list of approved vaccines means that travellers who would otherwise have had significant challenges and costs associated with travelling to the UK will find it much easier to enter the country and will not be required to self-isolate. The UK government notes that they are not required to take a pre-departure test, day 8 test, or self-isolate upon arrival. Instead, passengers will just need to pay for a lateral flow test to take before the end of their second day post-arrival. And regarding the new treatment of all under 18s as fully vaccinated, this means that under 18s will not have to self-isolate upon arrival. The government states they will only be required to take one post-arrival test and a confirmatory free PCR test if they test positive. And this news is obviously very important for the many UK educators whose specialisation is the junior student market. Well, that's your weekly news roundup from all of us here at ICEF Monitor. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all the industry trends and developments in the international education sector.